The United States may not lose this war, but it can't win it either. This is Dr. Gary Kellner, and I would like to welcome you to Fair Game. 3 months into President Trump's war against the Islamic Republic of Iran, it's time to ask a few questions. Who's up? Who's down? And who's out? When Donald Trump launched his latest military action against Iran on February 28, the president and members of his administration offered several reasons for the conflict. First, eliminating Iran's capacity to develop and deliver nuclear weapons. Second, destroying Iran's navy. Third, both Trump and members of his administration talked about regime change. It has to be said after 3 months, that one is a moving target. Early in the operation, President Trump said that he believed that it would take about 2 or 3 weeks. Well, we are now in month 4 with no clear end in sight. Several things are true. It is true that the United States military has been highly successful in achieving its objectives. A high percentage of Iran's ballistic missiles have been destroyed. And if the number isn't as high as the 90% that the administration has claimed, they have been substantially degraded, and they do not pose a serious threat to any of their neighbors at the present time. Most of Iran's navy is sitting on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. The U.S. and Israel do not have a clear picture of the situation regarding nuclear weapons, but we do know that that program has been set back substantially. Now, if the U.S. has been successful in achieving most of its objectives, it needs to be said that some critical objectives have not yet been achieved. The regime is still in place, and without a substantial commitment of boots on the ground, regime change isn't going to be happening anytime soon. If anything, U.S. and Israeli attacks that took out most of the senior leaders of the regime have caused their successors to double down. They are more conservative and more intransigent and less willing to negotiate with the U.S. than their predecessors. Iran shows absolutely no willingness to give up their nuclear capability. And Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz to traffic, effectively stopping the movement of 20% of the world's oil through the strait, and triggering a global energy crisis that has sent oil prices into the stratosphere. The closing of the strait resulted in another outcome. The Iranians are forcing the United States of America to negotiate passage in international waters, something that no U.S. president has ever been willing to do, and that in fact triggered our first foreign military action under President Thomas Jefferson. Every United States administration, from Jefferson to the president, has been willing to fight for freedom of the seas. Now we're talking about it. The Trump administration has elevated the importance of Iran globally in another outcome. That's an early Christmas present to the Ayatollah, or in this case, Ramadan. So who's up? Well, the U.S. is up. Israel's up. Iran's capacity to threaten Israel has been dramatically reduced. And I think we just have to say that anything that keeps this regime from acquiring nukes is a win. But ironically, Iran is also up. The regime is still standing. The strait is closed. And the U.S. is like a bull caught in a barbed wire fence. Who's down? The Iranian people are down. Their economy, already on life support, is a mess. With the strait closed, their main source of state income has dried up. the strain on the long-suffering Iranian people grows more severe every day. Well, Donald Trump is also down. With spiraling energy costs in the U.S. and no successful end of the war in sight, the president's popularity is down, way down, the lowest of any second-term president this early in his administration. Unless the president brings this war to a close soon, the Republican Party will pay the price in the November midterms, which is why the normally somnambulant Republican Congress is beginning to push back on some of the president's pet projects, like the billion-dollar ballroom, his relief fund for people convicted of breaching the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, and of course, his victory arch that will dwarf any monument in Washington except for the Washington Monument. Now, we must also say that not only are the Iranian people down, not only is President Trump down, the American people are down as oil prices go up. It is getting harder and harder for working families to fill their tanks, buy groceries, and pay their bills. So finally, who's out? Well, that remains to be seen. At this point, the Iranian regime is not out, and they are not likely to be out. A lot of Republican incumbents could be out in the November elections unless the president finds a way out. One thing is sure at this particular moment of time. Iran has become Donald Trump's quicksand. The more he thrashes around, the worse it gets and the deeper he sinks into this Middle Eastern morass. You know, the U.S. never lost a battle in Vietnam, never lost a battle in Afghanistan or Iraq, and the U.S. lost all three wars without clearly stated objectives. The United States may not lose this war, but it can't win it either. This is Dr. Gary Kellner, and this is Fair Game.